as I said, there is something more noticeable about coefficients of each term in the expansion. They follow Pascal's triangle. Oh, I already said that. Oh well. Now, oh, I thought I talked about Pascal's triangle. What is Pascal's triangle? Right, Pascal's triangle is a special triangle that has a 1 at the top. It then has a 1 and a 1 for its second row. It then has a 1, a 2, and a 1. Now, this 2 is found by adding these two numbers above it. The next row would be 1, and then what do we think this number here would be? 3, because we're adding the 2 and the 1, and then we add the 2 and the 1, and then we get a 1 outside here, and then a 1, and then a 4, and then a 6, and then a 4, and then a 1. Okay, so now if we go back to our binomial expansion page, back here, we can see that we had a 1, we then had a 1 and a 1, we then had a 1, a 2, a 1, we had a 1, 3, 3, 1, and so on and so forth.
Wait, hold up. Can you go back up a bit? Wow.
Alright, so they follow Pascal's triangle. That's how Pascal's triangle is formed. Now, with lower values for n, it would be easy to determine the values in Pascal's triangle, but for larger values, it's more difficult. So you're going to find later on, we're going to have things like power of 15, power of 20. So for a start, we wouldn't want to have to expand those things, but equally, we wouldn't want to have to draw Pascal's triangle down to the 15th or 25th row. That would take far too long. So we can actually use special buttons on our calcs. Now, each value of Pascal's triangle is determined, and it's written as NR. N indicates the row number, and R indicates the column number. So in other words, N is the power of our binomial expansion, and R is the column number. So in other words, if it's the first digit in the column, the second, the third, the fourth, etc. If you're ever unsure or unable to use the calculator, you can work out the value of NR using factorials. Now you get given this formula in your formula booklets. Did we know that factorial, the exclamation mark, meant descending values multiplied by each other? So if we had 5 factorial, it means 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay? If we have 6 factorial, 6 times 5 times 4, etc., etc. Okay? So you can always work it out, and you may have to work it out if it was on the non-calculator paper. Okay? But you get given this, you don't have to remember it. I'll go through it.
Given like N over R.
You get, well, it says here NR is equal to this. Yeah. To use the GDC, we find NCR. So let's pause here. Okay, so let's pretend that we want to find the term 2411. Okay, so it would be n is 24, so something is to the power 24, and we want to find the 11th one in that series. So we would get our calcs, and we would press math, and then we would scoot across to prob. We would then scroll down to which one?
4.
We would go to number 3. because it's NCR. Okay, so it's number. I don't know what the C stands for actually, and then the R. Okay, I don't know. So let's do enter, and we enter our numbers. So the first one we want is 24. Scoot across, and then we want 11. Press enter, and we get that massive number. So it is it's gone. 2, 4, 9, 6, 4, 4. Thank you. Oh. Right, so we could also use Pascal's triangle. So if we were using Pascal's triangle, we'd have to draw it. So we've established how we draw it. We then have to look for 4, 3. So 4 indicates it's row 4. Now, as I've said, we start at row 0, then 1, then 2, 3. And so this here would be row 4. And then the columns just indicates or implies which term number we're talking about. Again, we start at 0. So this would be 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're looking, the value for 3 would be 3. Okay, my error. Okay, we could then look at using the formula. So if we were using this formula, 6, 2, so what does 6 represent? The N. And what does 2 represent? R. So we would write 6 factorial over 2 factorial times by, I guess I should write it, 6 minus 2 factorial. So 6 factorial over 2 factorial. What's 6 take away 2? 4 times by 4 factorial. Okay, so now we need to try and save some time. We know that 6 factorial means 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. We know that 2 factorial means 2 times 1. And 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Now, I don't want to have to do all those multiplying because it hurts my head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to see if I can simplify it. Well, we know that the rule is if you have something on the top of a fraction that's also on the bottom, you can cross it out. So I can cross this whole thing out here and this whole thing out there. I can also see that I've got a 2 on the bottom still and a 6 on the top. So I can get rid of that and make that now a 3. So on the bottom now we just have a 1, which obviously doesn't need to be there. And on the top we have 3 times 5, which is 15. So 6, 2 would give us the value of 15. Okay, and then we've got 25(8) using GDC. We've just talked about how we do that. Now, these instructions are slightly different now because you no longer have to enter the N value beforehand. So you don't need to, in the older calculators, you had to enter the 25 before you hit the math key. So now you just have to hit math, scroll to prob, and then it's still number 3. And then you want to first of all enter 25. And then 8, and then enter. So apologies, this is an old thingy. Bless you.